We'll start.
Okay.
You're good to go.
Great. So I think that we're recording. I was just saying that I wanted to pull up this picture. I searched minor league baseball umpires, and this is the picture that is on their homepage. And as you see, I think Brian's going to tell us a story about this. But if you don't know Brian, he's here in the middle. He was in the South Bay. Actually, he's still connected to the South Bay unit, but he sort of officially was with us from 2012 to 2016. And let me sort of describe to you his journey a bit on the professional side. He went to pro school in 2015 and was the top student. Congratulations to him on that. He was offered a job in the Arizona League. It's considered a rookie league. And within the first year, he was promoted to the Appalachian League, which is considered short season A. He then got another promotion into 2016 and worked the Midwest League in low A, and then got another promotion there in the California League, which is high A, and then went to the Florida Instructional League. 2017, he started in high A and then worked the California League Championship Series that year. Then got promoted going into 2018 into the Texas League, which is double A, and then moved over to the double A Arizona Instructional League, and then was a crew chief in the Texas League in double A in 2019, which is a huge deal. And then in 2019, he also worked as a crew chief in the Texas League Championship Series. And then in 2019, he also worked the future game as well. So he's sort of from 2015 to 19, he sort of had a meteor rocket move to the top here. I had him send me over his bio, and I see now Brian there, and he didn't put AAA. And I said, Brian, why didn't you put AAA? He said, look, I didn't work a game yet. Now he's promoted to AAA, but because of the pandemic, he hasn't worked a game, and it's sort of the kind of modesty you get with Brian. We appreciate that in him very much. Let me tell you a few quick things about him. Aside from he's kind, he's generous, he's the nicest guy that you'd meet. But first time I met him, he may not even remember this, but he and I worked a game at Stevenson Field in El Segundo. It was a high school game, and I didn't know him, so I said, "Hey, Brian, tell me about yourself." Very sort of conservative, didn't share too much. We weren't on the field for 30 seconds where I said, look, this guy is special. He can work. And he was sort of holding out on me out there in El Segundo. So after the game, I sort of poked and prodded him, and he reluctantly said, yeah, I went to pro school, and I've got this training and this background. And it's the kind of, again, modesty that if you know Brian, that you get from him. So that's sort of one memory with Brian. The other is, I don't know if you remember this, Brian, you and I worked a summer league game, summer collegiate game at Cal State Dominguez Hills. He's on the plate, I'm on the bases, and I'll be surprised if you remember this. I remember it vividly. So it's first and third, I'm in B, there's a steal at second, I make my call at second, just as the shortstop is putting down the throw, he guns it to third, and R3 is off the base, and he's diving in on the outside of the base, and third baseman's putting the tag down, and I can't tell. I mean, I'm in B. I take a few steps to get there. I can't tell. And based on the reaction of everybody in the place, I know I've got it wrong. So I hold the coach up and I say, hey, I'm going to get help. I'm going to get help. And this was at a time where it wasn't sort of popular. Usually you live and die with those decisions. But I went to Brian, and I don't remember whether it was safe or out, to be honest. What I remember the most about that was Brian's demeanor on the field. He didn't say, we got this, but his whole presence about him said, we're going to keep this calm. He came out, was really sort of relaxed. We discussed it. He told me what he had. We reversed the call. We got it right. Nobody came out. And again, I don't even remember whether it was out or safe, but I remember his calm, relaxed, sort of demeanor. his body language, sort of help, get through that. And the third thing I'll tell you is he's a much, much better poker player than I am, without question. So let me sort of break the ice for a second, Brian, because I know you didn't put you're in AAA, but you've got the promotion, you're on the roster, and we congratulate you for that. Tell us how it happened. Was that a surprise to you that you're getting the call, or how did that work out?
No, it wasn't a surprise, because just based on the situation, that if you're a crew chief on a championship series in AA, unless you're there kind of by default or as a charity, they toss you some love as a charity situation, because you've been there in AA for 4 years, and maybe you're on your way out, and you kind of know that somehow. Maybe they would. I've seen situations like that. Guys in his 4th year, they give him the championship series kind of as a consolation prize on his way out of the game. But me being in AA in my 2nd year, and a crew chief in the championship series, I was pretty sure that was coming. So that wasn't as extremely memorable as maybe working the futures game was a lot more special than that. But I got a call actually in the fall saying, hey, you're going to go to AAA, and Dusty, the director, called me and said that was going to happen, and that I was going to go to the International League for the moment, and then hopefully they'd move me over to the PCL before the year started. They did move me over before the year started on the roster, and then there was no year. There was no season. So it's been a crazy year, obviously, for all of us. At least you guys got to work a few games. I literally worked a few college games, a couple D1 series, and a series at Cal State LA. And other than that, I've worked 2 plate jobs in the last 12 months. So a lot of you guys probably have more games worked than me in the last year.
That's neat to hear. And I know I asked you, to specifically sort of share some of your experience and based on what you've sort of gone through, what it takes to, continue to advance and be a good umpire. And I had asked Brian to share some of his ejection videos, and he was really reluctant. He said, hey, listen, I don't want to. And I said, look, I mean, it will be neat for us to sort of see that and know the umpire and sort of hear some of the stories behind it, what was going on. So I know you're reluctant, but thanks for doing that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So tell us about your experience and what you want us to know.
Yeah. So the South Bay Unit's actually really special to me. It's really close to my heart. I don't know how many people know this story, but I went to umpire school in 2009, and it did not work out. I was kind of a bubble guy. It didn't work out, and I had a lot of pride. I was 24 years old and fresh out of college, and I always thought I'd kind of waltz in there and it would just work out. When I was done playing baseball, I'd go umpire, and I'd be a pro umpire, and that was the thing. And it didn't quite work out. And I got into the business world when I came back and didn't make it. And I had a lot of little bit of resentment, a little bit of bitterness just towards umpiring in general, as opposed to humbling myself and recognizing that there's some things I could have done different. I kind of just got into business and focused on that and started running this company over in Torrance for a lot of years. And I started doing baseball games with the South Bay Unit. And I remember picking my gear up out of my parents' garage, because that's where it was stored at the time, and had made the decision to, I kind of had that itch again, and I showed up over at Scrock, and Lewis Smith, was there. He was gonna evaluate a bunch of guys working this like 8th grade or freshman game or something like that, and they had given me a provisional, really low level schedule, what have you, and I was say, okay, if that's what I got to do, I want to do this again with really no aspirations to do this professionally. And Lewis pulled me aside after an inning, and he's like, hey, kid, man, I'm gonna go ahead and change that schedule around, and I'm gonna take care of you. You can head on home. And I'm like, okay, and the schedule got bumped up, and I was doing my full-time job and really kind of rehashed the passion, rehashed the love for this, just working with guys doing high school games. And after a year or two of that, got into JC ball and was working games with Jay, and then got into Division II. And after enough years of doing it, maybe 3.5 years of doing it again, a lot of people were saying, hey, you should think about giving that a shot. You should go back to the school. And I always kind of brushed it off and blew it off. But I had a good friend by the name of Albert Ruiz who worked 10 years in pro ball, and he would always call me, "Hey man, how you doing? How's business going? And where, what's going on?" And so I'd tell him, and he'd say, "Hey, you should come watch me do this series. I'm in Iowa, and I'd say, "No, I'm good. I don't want to fly to Iowa to watch you work games or whatever." And one time he was in New Orleans, and I flew to New Orleans, and we had fun. Went to Bourbon Street and did the whole deal. Watched his series. It was great. And he had a guy a major league umpire rehabbing a knee injury on that series. So they'd switch other guys out, and they had 4 guys in their crew, but they'd switch one out and let Tony Randazzo work the game to get his knee better and make sure he was ready to go to the big leagues. And on the way home, Tony and I happened to be on the same flight connecting in Atlanta. I was going to go home to LA. He was going to go to Philadelphia to work the Phillies series. And he came up, and I saw him in the airport, but didn't want to go get his autograph and do the whole, be that guy. So he came and tapped me on the shoulder. He's like, "Hey man, you're Albert's friend, right? You were hanging out in New Orleans this series." "Yeah." Our flight got delayed 5 or 6 hours, and a few pitchers of Coors Light and some pasta later or what have you. He had gone through my whole life story with me and asked me for a commitment. He said, "Hey, I think you should go back to the pro school this year." And I was like kind of mesmerized by the whole thing. I was like, had a few drinks, and I was like, "Sure, I think I'm going to do it. I think it's time. I think I should go back and give it another shot." And he texted me about a week later. I had probably thought he forgot about that whole thing, and don't know if I really would have followed up with it. But he said, "Hey, do you remember that promise you made to me?" And I said, "Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go do it." And showed up in January. It worked out. I did really well at the school, and from that point, the first couple of years, I got a bunch of quick promotions, and things just really started to fly. And so I've been very blessed. I've been very fortunate. All it takes is one bad day, man. All it takes is one protest. All it takes is one, and part of what I'll go through here is all it takes is one really poorly handled situation. All it takes is one time with the supervisor where you don't react the way they want you to react. Maybe you don't even realize it, but you're being condescending, or you're being negative, or you're being cocky, or whatever it is. All it takes is one time where it's visible that you're treating your partners poorly, and you're not a good crewmate. You're not a good partner. And I mean, it's sayonara, man. People ask, what does it take to succeed in professional baseball? I tell them, well, you pretty much have to you almost have to be flawless off the field, and you have to do a really good job on the field. Because if you mess up a hotel reservation, it charges the team an extra, amount of money. If you interact with the general manager poorly, if you charge a bunch of things, a bunch of food to your room, and it goes to the team, and you don't set it up the right way, if you mess something up off the field and it gets back to the league, you're done. I've seen so many guys get let go or demoted over that, not to mention on the field. So everyone does a good job on the field. The place you're separated is how you handle situations, your image, and being a good partner. So Jay had asked me to talk tonight and said, come up with some things that you think separate guys and things that would help these people. And I came up with those 3 things: what your image is, handling your situations, and being a good partner, because ultimately those are the 3 things that really make or break guys, especially at the higher college levels as well as the professional levels. Like, there aren't bad umpires out there. Maybe in rookie ball, maybe in short season, which they're probably going to do away with anyway. But by the time you get to a full season, all right, so that guy grabs the low pitch a little bit, but he's a good umpire all the way around. Ball strike safe and out. If you're missing all kinds of plays, if you're missing a lot of judgment calls, you're not gonna be there for very long. They're gonna weed you out. But from the people that continue to rise, and in your guys' lives, the people that continue, when you've done the high school game for a few years, who are the people that get chosen for semifinals and finals or whatever? It's people who have excelled, who've treated other people well, who have a good image, or well respected, and people that don't butcher and mess up situations. So those are kind of the 3 things that I wanted to hone in on. And I remember, prior to all this, I remember getting the arbiter. I was sitting with Ben Phillips, who used to be in this unit. He moved back to North Carolina. He's in AA and doing well. But I remember sitting with him, having some dinner, and we both got arbiter invites at the same time to work a semifinal game the year that we got picked up for pro ball. And we were so excited about that, to get those accolades and to get that next thing, you know, that you're shooting for or whatever. So whether it's a high school semifinal, whether it's a junior college regional, whether it's, you know, your first playoff game or whatever, you know, you should always be searching and looking to take that next step. And for, like you guys were talking about earlier, Malachi Moore and I, in February of this year, were working some blowout game at Orange Coast College for, you know, $100 and whatever dollars, you know, and we're, before the game, we're sitting there and having a water and shooting the breeze about whatever, and a fall instructional league that we had worked together or whatever. Malachi had no idea that he was going to be working in the big leagues this year. Not to say he doesn't earn it. He definitely earned it, and he definitely deserves it, but that wasn't how it was laid out necessarily for this year at that point. It wasn't the way it looked, but you just never know what's going to happen, whether it be COVID or something else. So I'll go through some things I put together regarding your image. And then when we do handling situations in a few minutes, I'll have Jay play some videos that you guys, a few of them, I have some cool things that I really took from it, and that there's a throwing situation in there that I was able to handle really well. And it ended up I skipped a year in my career. They moved me from the low guy on my AA crew. Usually do a year as a 3-man, the 2-man, and then the crew chief. I never was a 2-man because I handled that situation so well and was so prepared for it that, you know, that they pushed me through. So you never know, one incident, one good thing can promote you and push you up, and whatever level, one bad thing can destroy a career. So, impact of your image on your career. I mean, what is our image? Okay. I mean, you know, the image that you guys portray begins in the parking lot. So I have a couple friends who coach baseball in the South Bay or whatever. I've been to a few games over the years, even in years past, and walked by the umpires or whatever. If you're a parent, or if you're an assistant coach that works another job, and you're running late and you're running through, and you see the umpires in their underwear in the parking lot, or there's empty beer cans in their, you know, in their trunk, or they're, you know, doing whatever, and they just look really unprofessional. They just look like they don't belong there or whatever. That image literally starts there. We don't have that in our situation. We have a locker room to go change in, but for us, it's, our image starts when we show up at the stadium. So we have to dress a certain way. We have to wear slacks. We have to wear polo shirts like this every single day. And when we park, if we're walking in, you know, cussing and talking about our girlfriends, or, you know, just inappropriate things, and there's team management there, you never know where the GM is. He's running around the stadium. But I've heard of guys getting banged, getting in big trouble for just acting really inappropriately, for, you know, walking through the stadium on the way to the locker room. For you guys, it starts in the parking lot. So the image that you guys portray begins there. And then what I have here is that half the battle of what we do at any level is the walk onto the field. It's the plate meeting. It's your jog to the outfield, or how you see pitches. You know, if you're jog to the out, if you're walking in slow as can be, you're over, you know, talking to fans on the side. Oh, hey, Billy, hey, how's it going? You're eating sunflower seeds. You don't look well put together at the plate meeting. There are decisions that are being made about you every second, from the point you leave your car and start getting dressed in the parking lot, to the time that you leave in your car and drive away. So you have to just be cognizant that your image is being evaluated at all times. If everything's going good, but then you walk from the plate, it takes you 4 minutes to get to the outfield, and you're picking daisies and looking around. By the time that first, if the guy on the plate is not seeing pitches, or if he's you know, back there lollygagging, or, you know, turn around, he doesn't look locked in, those players, your partner, the fans, the coaches, everyone who's there is making decisions on the umpire. And people say, well, I do a good job between the lines, ball strike, safe out. I'm sorry, you know, I think I do a really good job. How is your image outside of that? How is your image in between innings? By the time that first pitch is thrown, the coaches, the players, they've decided subconsciously or consciously, how much of a chance am I going to give this guy or gal? How much, you know, if they're disgusted with you, if there's 7 things that you've done that's just really rubbed them the wrong way, you could get every pitch correct, and they're still going to yell at you. They're still going to give you a hard time. They're still going to, you know, they have the power to make your lives miserable or build you up. Now, does that mean you should cater to everything that you want to impress the players? No, it's not about impressing them. It's about earning a level of respect from the time you walk on the field to the time that you leave. So, and I put how much the team feels about you and the coaching staff and how they're going to treat you. And you're not just for that game, but for your career. Everything you do in the South Bay unit or as you advance is going to be determined. There's base umpires that only have 3 calls a game. There's plate guys who a game kind of calls themselves. So it's about all these other things that I'll get to in a moment, but there's a ton that goes into before the game actually starts, how you have put yourself together and the resume, the reputation that you build. And I put here, perception is reality. If you look like you can umpire, they will believe that you can umpire until proven otherwise. Okay. I put here to let you guys know some examples of good umpires getting no respect and mid-range umpires getting respect. I worked with a guy in my pro career and heard a lot of rumors about him. I got promoted and moved into the league, and they said, man, this guy gets a lot of trouble, tons of trouble. Every night he's burning down dugouts and, all this. And so I show up and I'm working with him. And for the first few innings, this guy's getting all his pitches right. He looks good in uniform. He hustles. He's running all around. I'm going, this guy's gotten a bad rap. They've really, built this guy up to be something that he's not. I don't understand what's going on. And then he calls a borderline pitch, and someone says something from the dugout, snaps his mask off, turns over to the dugout and hammers the dugout, scream at them. I go, oh shit, that's what they're talking about. And from that point on, there was so many situations that Jay had sent a possible questionnaire that some people pour gasoline on fires and some people pour water. I mean, I've seen so many guys. I've worked at every level now. I've worked at, tons of high schools in the South Bay. I've worked at the junior college level, the Division III level, the Division II level, the Division I level. And I've worked at 5 of the 6 levels in minor league baseball. And I've seen guys that miss all kinds of stuff, but they try, they work hard, they hustle, they do just a good enough job with ball strike safe out that they're respected. And the way they treat people, the way they interact with people is professional. They're humble. They are not cocky, and they go about things the right way. They respect the game, and they just do all the right things, and they don't hear a word. And there's times that I'm watching the game from in 2-man or in 3-man, and that pitch is clearly not strike. No one says a word. And I've worked with guys who get all their stuff right, but no one gives them a chance. They won't leave them alone. It's because there's so much more. I think image is, they joke that in pro ball, it's all about, muscles and your hair and all these other things. It's because that's a joke. It isn't, it's not really like that necessarily, but the image that you portray is so, so powerful, not just before the game. That was part of it. That's half the battle. The other half the battle is when you do kick a call, when something doesn't go your way, when something goes wrong, how are you going to deal with it? Are you going to shut people down and scream at them that you're right? Or are you going to, it's about doing things the right way. And I have here that it takes years, I want to focus a lot of this on what you guys do, because you're not going to Lansing, Michigan. You guys aren't going to go to Bowling Green. You guys aren't going to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma and work in front of 10,000, 15, 20,000 people, at least unless someone's, attempting to go to umpire school in the next few years. So in your guys' lives, you're going to see the same coaches, the same teams, the same principals when you go get your check or whatever. You're going to have some longevity. Some of you guys have been working in the South Bay unit for 20 or 30 years. It takes so long to earn a good reputation and a high level of respect. You have to do so many things right for such a good, a long period of time. What does it take to lose that? One situation, one problem, one time that you're having a bad day and you snap on a player, and then the coach comes out and you snap on him and you have to eject him or whatever else. But all it takes is one thing to go haywire. So as umpires, we walk a fine line. We are walking a tightrope, and it takes so long to build up all that credibility. And when a coach sees you walk on the field, I'm not saying nothing to this guy today. I've had him for 10 years. He works hard, gets most of his pitches right. And I think he does a good job. If he has that in his head, he's going to leave you alone until you ruin that. So how do we ruin that? Going about things in the wrong way or not respecting the profession that we have. I don't care that you guys are amateurs. This is a profession. You are taking time out of your day. You're paid for your work, and this is something that you guys do for money. So I wrote down some things that really factor into your image. And your image is a body of work. It's a resume. It's not just for your teams, but it's for your colleagues. It's for your supervisors. You're not trying to put on a good show for South Torrance and Redondo, just them. I mean, you want to do a good job, and you want to be the person that wasn't even noticed by those guys. But when your board is deciding on playoffs and awards and who's going to get the finals and whatever else, as well as when you go to work with some of your colleagues, this guy I worked with 4 times this year, this person 5 times and 7 times, you have to bring your A game so that you're not burning the game down for your partner and bringing your partner down with you. Oh my God, we were a part of that game 5 years ago when we messed it, when we had to change 6 calls, or whatever else. So, your image is also for your colleagues as well. So it starts out, are you on time and are you prepared? Says me, who couldn't get my Zoom working today until 7:07. But are you on time and are you prepared? I worked games in the South Bay unit over the years where we're pulling up to whatever field, and whoever I'm working with showing up 12 minutes before the game. He's changing, he's pulling his pants up and tying his belt as we're walking on the field. And if that's the way you're going to go about your business in the South Bay unit, do you think that person is focused and ready to go, ready for that first pitch or ready for that first play at first, ready to read that first fly ball in the outfield, whether he needs to go out or come in? If he or she is still thinking about work, or that jerk at the office, or something going on with your family, the toughest thing in umpiring is closing off your regular world and opening up that new game that you need to give 100% of your focus to. So showing up on time and being prepared is a huge part of your image. If you're 5 minutes late to the game, or those coaches see you pulling your pants up and tying your belt as you walk on the field, the level of respect that they have for you just went down several notches, and you haven't even gotten the lineup cards yet. The way that you dress, with the new spandex or forget what they're even called, but the new pants that we have are really nice. God, I hated ironing. I don't know if you guys wear those now, but in pro ball, we all wear the ones that are slick and kind of with some heat. You put them up in the shower before the game and turn the hot water on, and some steam will get any wrinkles out or anything like that. So, but looking good in uniform, if not everyone's going to have bulging biceps or look phenomenal in uniform, but that doesn't mean you can't have it nicely pressed, have it clean, have your shoes clean, have your hat look good. Don't wear the same hat for 9 straight years and have it, disgusting or whatever. That's a huge part of the deal as well. Your demeanor. Be calm and relaxed, but be approachable. I will be the first one to tell you that in the Appalachian League, I was not very approachable, and I had as many ejections in those 28 days, as many as I've had in any full season combined, because I didn't know what I was doing. They could teach you at school, but how to interact with people, I wasn't used to people yelling at me, and I wasn't used to having people come out on me and ridicule me and use profanity and things like that. So I was a red ass. So I ran a bunch of people and learned some lessons, but you want to be calm and relaxed. You don't want to be too stiff, too aggressive, too unapproachable, but you also have to have good energy. You have to show up with a good energy. You have to be, there's a fine line between confidence and, cockiness, and you have to find that balance point. Your attitude, you got to want to be there. If it's, if you're working a mainly Redondo, Maricosta, the good schools, and then on the schedule, you got a game over at Lusinger and they're 0-13. Well, those kids, went to school, and I don't know if they will this year, if it'll be online, but typically they'll have gone to school all day. They can't wait to go play that baseball game. It's the highlight of their week. And if you show up and you act like you couldn't give a shit about that game, and it's going to be a blowout and it's 7-0 in the first inning, you got to want to be there, whether it's the big game and you're tired from work, or you worked an all-nighter, in your job or whatever. You got to want to be there, and you got to show that. People need to be able to look at you and be like, this guy's busting his ass, this guy or gal, and he or she wants to be there. One of the biggest parts is how you interact with others. Fraternizing or talking to players and coaches is a big thing. I feel confident that, and what I've been told by supervisors is that that I do a very good job of finding the middle point. If you notice a trend here, a lot of what I'm talking about is not being the 10 and not being the 0, finding balance in your work. Because if you're the guy that I've seen umpires like this, literally, I've worked with umpires who would not talk to the first baseman or the first base coach. If they talk to him, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you. I'm not allowed to talk to you. And they're just like, what? And then I've seen guys who will chat it up with those coaches and with the team and with the first base coach, and they'll be in the outfield giving sunflower seed. I had a guy last year I worked with in a playoff series. He's tossing gum to the center fielder. And, so you don't want to be either one of those. You want to be well balanced, and you want to be approachable. You want to be kind and calm and whatever, without being over the top. So you want to, hey, first base coach's, name, whether it's pro ball or the first base coach itself. Hey, Tom, how you doing, man? How's everything? Family good? Awesome, man. And if he wants to chat it up with you all day, just kind of ignore him. And okay, that's great. Maybe take a few steps back at first base. We don't have that a whole lot because there's only 2 umpires most of the time. So you'll be inside most of the time as the base umpire. But I always check in with my first baseman. Hey, Billy, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Where'd you guys come in from? Awesome. Good stuff. Hey, Tom, check in with everybody. And then if there's a drag in the game and they talk to you, respond. You don't want to be the person that is unapproachable. You won't talk to anybody. And you don't want to be the person that's fraternizing all game. That's gonna be a problem if you want to advance into the higher levels of college ball and stuff. Nobody likes that, but they also don't like a stiff, rigid guy or gal who won't talk to anybody. So big part of your image is your hustle or lack thereof. Very, very straightforward. There's a saying in minor league baseball that you can hustle your way to AA. They've never said you can hustle your way to AAA because you probably can't, but you can flat out hustle your way to AA. I feel like you guys can hustle your way, if you do it long enough, to a semifinal or a final. If an observer there or your people watching you, if you're always doing what you're supposed to be doing, if you're always hustling, even if your ball strike safe out is an 8 out of 10 or 8.5 out of 10, it's not an upper echelon situation. I feel like it goes so far. I feel like you gain so much respect with your hustle and with your attitude and with your work ethic. So that's a huge part of it as well. And that kind of ties into your confidence. Your confidence shown when making decisions. I've seen guys miss 15 to 20 pitches on the plate, close pitches, but just have kind of a rough game. But their confidence, their mechanics, their signaling is so good that they just watch him and they go, he's got to be correct. I mean, he can't be missing these. Look how locked in he is back there. So your confidence shown when making decisions, whether it's ball strike safe, out, balk, fair, foul, home run, no home run. I had a call last year in Amarillo that I missed. It was they have a weird wall in center field, and it hit just below the wall, made a big clinking metal sound, and ricocheted back into play. And I knew that wall up there was metal, and so I assumed that sound was the metal. And I gave the biggest home run mechanic, spun it, and was as empathetic. Nobody said a word. Okay, home run. And next day they go, hey, did you watch that video? I'm going, I had a pretty clean game yesterday. I don't think I'm thinking, what could they be talking about? No, I didn't watch it. That home run, the ball hit right below the line. We didn't know it either. Did you look at that afterwards? No, man, I had no idea. But if I gave a really mid-range mechanic or whatever, I might have had an ejection, might have had the place burning down. But you can sell yourself, you can sell your call and get yourself out of a lot of bad situations. So that's what I have for the image. And next I'll go to part 2 of 3, which is handling situations. I didn't really know whether it would be better to do those videos I sent you, Jay, before or after, but you could go ahead and play them now, and I'll do a dialogue after each one if you're ready for it, and then I'll go through this part after.
Yeah, I was thinking let's show the videos. I think that
okay.
There were maybe 3 or 4 videos that of ejections that Brian had, and it's sort of neat to maybe hear some of the backstory behind it. So Andy will play them for us.
So let me actually give you the backstory to this one first. Okay, so right now we had problems heading into this. We had the batter who's coming up had stepped on what we thought we met. Me and the crew chief met between innings. This is my AA year when I'm a low man. I'm not the crew chief. It was 2 years ago. It was my first year AA. And this pitcher is a converted outfielder in the big leagues. And he came back in and he was a pitcher. He was kind of on his way out. He hadn't, you could see here 16 innings for the whole season. He was very scarcely used and what have you. And I kind of knew that. We hadn't seen him a whole lot. And there was some problems in the inning prior. And then this guy all of a sudden comes in. This guy's a hothead. He's always chirping from the dugout. So that goes into it as well. And this batter had accidentally stepped on the heel of the first baseman. There was a little bickering and yelling down at first base or what have you, but it didn't prolong too much. That was what was leading into this situation. And I was fortunate enough to have kind of picked up on, some of that, as well as my crew chief, when he saw that this guy was coming in to pitch, brought me up from home plate. He goes, "Hey, you know what the deal is with this guy?" I go, "Yeah, he's a converted outfitter. We hardly ever see him, right?" He's like, "And you saw what happened down at first base a couple innings ago." I go, "Yeah, he nipped the heel of." He's like, "Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure you were locked in, man. Be ready for war here. Just have a head. Be heads up." And that was helpful. I was already kind of clued in on it, but it was a big time move by the crew chief to bring me down. And just, if I hadn't been aware of that, it would have been a nightmare. So with that being said, go ahead and hit it.
Brian, we'll let you talk over it rather
Okay, for sure. So first pitch, whoa, okay. And I'm glad that I didn't do anything there, because it wasn't flagrant. They would have been able to probably talk their way out of that. But I'm saying to myself right now, he hits him, he throws behind him, he's going. He's gonna get ran. And sure enough, the next pitch, whoa, right behind him. So it's a really emotional moment. This is probably not going to happen for you guys and what you're doing, but I made the decision that if he goes behind him, I'm getting rid of him. And Joe comes out. Joe has had a lot of blow-ups that ended up on YouTube with umpires in the past. So Joe comes out, "That's effing bullshit. There's no way he threw at him. The guy's wild." But because I knew what had happened earlier in the game, and I was able to say, "No chance, Joe. Did you see what happened down at first base earlier in the game?" "No, what happened?" "Well, he stepped on his heel. It was an accident. This guy's a good guy. Xavier's a good guy. It was an accident earlier in the game. Your new pitcher comes in, Ghost comes in, throws it high and tight, and then he throws behind him. No chance. He just threw at him. He's done." And this is a good situation where you always want to be calm and relaxed or whatever. But if it's kind of hard to tell on here, but I went hard at Joe a little bit. I didn't use profanity or whatever, but Joe wants to come out hot or whatever. And it was a big moment. I needed to get it portrayed to him and get out to him at his own energy. If he came out calm and polite, I would have been calm and polite. But if he wants to come out hot, I needed to kind of match his energy, and it worked out well. So that was the situation that got me promoted, and I skipped a year because they said I handled it really well. This next situation is a good example of, you got to be ready for anything to happen at any given time. This batter, Donnie Walton, has been the nicest guy. He's been a good guy. He treated us well all season, but you can't let guys off the hook. And so he's going to take strike 3 here. You can go ahead and play it. And as he's walking away, he tells me that I'm fucking terrible. So that's terrible, Brian. Let's go. Be better. No, I got it at the top of the zone, Donnie. Walks away. "You're fucking terrible." "Well, you're done." And Darren, I hadn't had any ejections this season until this was like game 80 or something. And Darren comes down and he's talking about why I ejected the batter. So I'm letting him come down because he hasn't talked about balls and strikes. And he's saying, "There's no way you run him. He hasn't been ejected in years. I never even heard of it. He's a great guy." I go, "That's fine, but he told me I'm fucking terrible." And he goes, "Well, I mean, that's tough. That pitch was at the I don't have that pitch there. I think it's up." And I told him, "Darren, I'm not going to talk to you about balls and strikes." And he told me, "Well, that's good, because you don't know shit about balls and strikes." So as he's walking away, both of them not very ideal that they're walking away as they said it, but told me I didn't know shit about balls and strikes. It's a personal insult. He's got to go, and you got to be able to, these aren't going to happen very often for you guys either, but you got to be able to lock yourself in and not laugh at them, not lose your composure, not get mad at them. Don't scream at them. You just kind of handle your business, you know?
I appreciate your body language there and not sort of inflaming it, right? You walked away, you confident body language. It's not, you know, sometimes when umpires walk away, it looks weak. That did not look weak. That looked like you were in control, you were confident, you had the right decision. It was sort of neat to see that. And what I want to sort of, you said something there before we watched this video.
So this one.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Yeah, before you go there, Brian, you made a comment there. Not ideal that they're walking away. What did you mean by that?
Sure. So I got high praise for that situation. They said I handled it really well, and I ejected both guys at the perfect time. And they would have said, in both of them, they asked me, what would you have done different if you could have done something different on the past 2 ejections? And it's something they teach us at umpire school. And in the rare cases you guys do run into ejections, hey, if a guy says F you, it doesn't matter if he's walking away. If he says you're terrible, if they say you don't know shit about balls and strikes or umpiring or whatever, these are personal insults and they're immediately ejectable offenses. So the one thing I do wish I would have done different is once Donnie said that, I would have yelled pretty loud at him, hey, Donnie, you're done. And he said, what? Once he turned around and once he's now faced you, you go ahead and run him. Darren, same thing. Once he said, you don't know shit about balls and strikes, I said, well, I should have said, well, that's fine, Darren, but now you're done too. And say that first, and wait for them to turn and look at you. Now they're the aggressor. Now they've turned back and looked at you. Boom, you could send them. If you listen, which we won't, if you listen to the way that the announcer on that one tears me apart or whatever, if you're going to eject somebody, you might want to do it before they start walking away. Well, that's a stupid assumption that people could say whatever they want. They could do whatever they want. And if they're walking away, they could basically have throw the kitchen sink at you. That's not true. And that's not something they want at the high school level, college level, or professional level. But one little tip and trick that I didn't put in play on either one of those is that if they're walking away and they say something that you need to eject them for, you let them know very loudly. There's no way that they can't hear it. Hey, Donnie, you're done. Hey, Darren, that's it. You're gone. Whatever verbiage you're going to use. Wait for them to turn back to you. That way the image portrayed to the announcers, to the fans, to the teams is that they just turned back and said something to you and now you're sending them, as opposed to ejecting them while they're walking away.
Thank you for that explanation. That's really advanced stuff. That's good and not easy to incorporate when the adrenaline's going and you hear what you hear and you know he's got to go. But that's great feedback. Thanks for sharing that.
So on this one, this guy, Jake Fraley, would come up and tap your knee or tap your shin guards and say, hey, God bless you and your family. He would do that. It's great. I'm a Christian. So that's good stuff. We always appreciated it. It's funny. I was getting made fun of last year that I only eject great guys who, tell you God bless and are in church on Sunday morning. I mean, hey, man, if they got to go, they got to go. The next guy that will go after this, which I'll go back in a second, the second one in this video with Jay will play next is not like that. And he's does not treat umpires well at all. He questions everything or whatever. But Jake here is going to check swing. You can start it. He's going to check swing, and I send it to my partner. And my partner said that he went for strike 3. So check swing, send it to my partner, says he went, call him out. He goes, that's crazy, Brian. Your partner's blind. And so he's got to go. I mean, I run him here. He doesn't even know it because he thinks he could get away with that because he's walking away and because he's a good guy, always taps your leg. And he's like, you ran me? You ejected me for what? What did I do? I said, you just told me that Darius was blind. He goes, I wasn't talking to you. I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about Darius. I said, that's fine. It doesn't matter. You got to go, man. You're done. So Mitch, who just took the Oregon State job, I had him this last year. We were joking about this in February on the Oregon State San Diego State series. This is all for show. So this is all a show. He's telling me right now, I think he did go too. And, I'm glad that at least you sent it. This whole thing is the funniest thing because he's trying to look angry or whatever else. And then you missed the mechanic there. But after about 20 seconds, he says, "Hey, you're going to have to eject me too. I need to back my guy up." So I sent him too. But Mitch is a great guy. I had him at every level in the game or whatever. But part of this is a presentation and what have you. So then he begins to go walk out to Darius because he never gets ejected. Mitch, I think that might have been his first ejection of his career. So he wants to go down here. I question whether I should have let him walk down. It's kind of breaking up there, the video. So he walks all the way down to my partner, and they told me that they thought I did a really good job of not being confrontational and aggressive. He's already ejected. The call was made by the third base umpire. So allowing him to go down there, giving him some space, then going in to corral him, just walking back with him, letting him do his whole thing for his team. If he wants to get the fine and, and have to answer to the president about, the league president about being ejected, he's paid it. He's going to pay his penance. He's going to pay, have his fee and whatever else. And it's part of the game. So you move on. He leaves. And then the last video is after those 2 ejections right there, we had a 3-hour rain delay, and we resumed at the 11 o'clock hour. So we resumed. We were hoping it was going to get banged and, just made official. But we resumed at like 11:30 or 40 at night. And this was the first batter, I believe, when we resumed. And it was Dom Thompson. So it's breaking up there, but he took a really good pitch. We looked at the box the next day. It was right there. He's, talking a bunch of crap, and he tells me that you've been terrible all day. So Dom needed to go too. And then this makeshift coach came down and probably could have got him too. I felt like 3 was enough. He didn't say anything flagrant, but he did say, "Why are you so sensitive today?" And that was, we debated it, me and the supervisor later on. He's like, yeah, I think that's good to keep him in the game there. At least at that point, you already got 3 on the books, for the day. You don't want to start a circus. And we felt like you handled all of that really well. But, once he said that comment to me, we were done talking. I wasn't going to talk to him about anything else. So I walked out of there. I'm normally not a walk away guy where I'm trying to get out of there quickly or whatever. But with that, I was like, okay, I think his name was Andy. All right, Andy, we're done. We're not talking about anything else, man. Go back to third base. And if he would have refused, continue to argue or refuse there, he would have gone too. But with that being said, I mean, I feel like I've had a good balance over the years. It's always somewhere around 4 to 6 ejections and 140 games. It's always just kind of funny how they always come in 2s or 3s. Like I think I had 5 last year and 3 came in that one game. So, Jay, are you still there? Your icon is off.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, cool. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So one of the things I appreciated about that, and it's something that I think we can definitely take from not that ejection, but the one before, is that the batter made a comment about your partner. It's unacceptable, right? I have seen on occasion that if I'm not saying your partner made mistakes, it sounds like he had you
get it right, yeah.
Yeah, he had a good read on it, but that I have seen if an umpire, let's say, makes maybe not such a good decision, that the other umpire, you can almost tell by their body language, it's like, good luck to them. They're on their own. And I think, having the mentality that, we're our only support system out there. Even if you don't like the guy, let's, support him 110%. Reminded me of a quick story. I think it ties together a couple of things that you said here. I had a series, and it's an umpire that doesn't care much for me. I don't care much for him. He's got the plate meeting, and for whatever reason, this is early in the season. So what we're trying, you want to get the game in, you want to get it going, so we don't lose sun. And he just meandered the whole plate meeting. Starts off by saying, well, this is really interesting thickness of the lineup card. And boy, is it interesting that the DHs are in the same spot in both lineups. And how do you pronounce this name? To the point where both coaches were pissed off and frustrated with them before the game even started. So to your point is that it starts right before the game, right? So he sort of lost them, and it was a 3-game series, and it was a nightmare the whole time. I will say, as much as I dislike this guy and he dislikes me, my feeling leaving that plate meeting was, okay, it's on, and I've got his back. And sure enough, I was U3 that game. I get into it with the visitors dugout that whole time, shutting them down. So I would, again, suggest, one, for me, less is more. I tend to not be somebody that interacts too much with people. I'll be pleasant, like you say, but I won't engage too much. My plate meetings, I'm in and out of there, because to me, nothing good can happen for a longer plate meeting. It's just been my experience. So again, the takeaway that I think you're suggesting to us, and I appreciate sort of underscoring it there, where he makes a comment about your partner, get him, you got him. I think that's a ballsy and correct move. So
you want to talk about two things on that. You want to talk about a long plate meeting. We were down at San Diego State with Mitch this past February, and they had some issue. They had some problem, the two teams, with the way that with the way Oregon State was treated with their setup. And he went on, and it was like a 5-minute plate meeting. And that was something that I had never even mentally prepared myself for. What if the two coaches, or, it's usually managers, but that rare series that I do in the preseason, it was coaches. These guys were going hard. Well, when we have to go up to your place, don't expect, going hard. And I watched the crew chief, Billy Hayes, who, you guys try to work for someday up at the college level, did a really good job of leaving us out of it until it was time to infiltrate towards the end. Hey guys, let's, you guys have had your say. I thought he handled it really, really well in a very advanced situation that almost no one will run into, but, keep yourself out of it as much as you can until you need to infiltrate, into that. If he would have shut him down after 10 seconds, hey, stop that. This isn't the time for that. We would have become involved with that. So it starts with a plate meeting. I would agree with you, Jay. Longer plate meetings, no bueno, no bueno. So that's definitely something. And then when you were saying I thought it was great what you said about, hey, look, when we have to eject people, same as you guys to a certain extent, your report isn't as long. I'm not scared to eject anybody, but do I show up wanting to get to the field an hour and a half before? In the past, it's been rub baseballs. We apparently no longer will rub baseballs, which is great. I'm very excited about that. Also, who knows if anyone will rub baseballs with COVID and all of that anymore. We used to spit on our hands and rub every single baseball. So if somebody had COVID, every single pitcher would touch our COVID. So I don't know what they'll do in the future, but I don't want to write an ejection report after being at the stadium for 5 hours, go back to the hotel. And if you mess up punctuation in our ejection reports, they will crush you for it. So you have to read through it 10 times. It's a legal document. They do this big thing about it. So my dream post game is a jacuzzi or a movie or some work for my business, I guess, if it needs to be done, or a beer or some dinner. It's not, guys, I'm going to order room service. Someone pick up some fast food. I need to go up to the hotel. Me and the other guy, whoever else was involved, we need to type up an ejection report. So I already was going to have one. It was a completely, no, this was the first one. But it'd be really easy your partner's blind. I didn't hear that. I'm going to go about my business, and whatever else. Well, if you let that guy stay in the game, or if you don't address it, and then he goes in, he's like, man, you guys see that? That was crazy. And they're like, no, I'm pretty sure you swung, Jake. He's like, well, it doesn't matter. I told Brian that Darius is blind. He didn't do anything about it. You've just lost their respect. They know that it's like spitting on an officer's feet, or telling him that his partner, and then saying as a, whatever. Well, you're losing respect. You're losing, everything there. So got to protect your partners. It doesn't, what if you show up and you really don't like who you're working with that day, whether it be college or high school, or you've had words with that guy, or you really just don't get along or whatever. Are you going to throw him under the bus? Or are you going to, you've already pre-gamed that you're going to handle something a certain way with a foul ball off the foot or whatever else, but you're going to come show him, you're going to go kill that play or whatever, and make him look bad. I mean, obviously not too many people are going to do that, but you always got to have your partners back. Whatever you have prior to the game, after the game, that's one thing. Maybe you guys were in business for a few years. It didn't work out too well. Between the lines, from the time you walk on the field to the time you leave, It's you guys are all you have, literally. It's 25 against 1 or whatever it is with the high school players. So, yeah. So I had here, I said it a little bit earlier, but in terms of handling situations, nobody likes a red ass, and nobody respects someone who doesn't stand up for themselves and their crew. So I've worked with red asses. I've been a red ass, and nobody likes that. And it doesn't serve anyone any good. I've also worked with people who were feeble. They were fragile. They were, non-assertive, and they did not do a good job of asserting themselves in situations. And, their mechanics were weak and whatever else. Nobody, and they would, I've had partners who have been told, you fucking suck, but they knew they'd missed the pitch, so they let them stay in the game. So red ass, no bueno. Somebody who doesn't stand up for themselves, and that everyone, it becomes very clear that you can be walked all over, it's going to be a nightmare. Both of those situations are nightmares. So you want to find the middle ground. And I've been very privileged. I worked with his son last year for the whole year. He's one of my best friends, and very privileged to have a decent, a friendship with Ted Barrett. We do our Calling for Christ retreat. I don't know if you guys knew it, but Jesus does love umpires. So Ted runs a great ministry, and Ted is who I hope to be someday. And when I say that, he has the perfect balance where he is a calm man. He's a very quiet man. He's a man of few words. But if Ted needs to go to war and Ted needs to handle his business, he will not hesitate in any way, shape, or form. He's not going to place himself in situations he doesn't need to be in. But there's a reason that if you go on Close Call Sports, it's very rare that you can ever find Ted having to eject anyone, because they respect that man like God, because he has earned that respect for all these years, and he does not step out of line. And I feel like he's calm, confident, he's assertive, he's fair, yet nobody messes with him because he handles his shit every single day and does a good job. He misses a pitch, no one says anything to that man. And because in the rare cases that they do, he handles his business. So I think that's something that we should all strive to be. I put here, do not be quick to react or respond unless absolutely necessary, but be prepared to take care of, handle things, take care of things at any moment without hesitation. So that pop shot from the dugout, let's go, that ball's down. What good does it do to snap your head over there and try to find it? It's just fuel to the fire. Everyone sees that and they're like, this guy, all I got to do is yell one thing and he's going to be trying to find me in the dugout. You don't want to be that guy, but you don't want to be the person who is getting buried by the dugout and you're just staring straight ahead, pretending like it's not there and whatever else. You want to find that balance point between the red ass and the person who can't stand up for themselves. Find that perfect, or as much as you can, as close as you can to perfect balance point in that middle ground, where you can run your ship, you can run your show every day. They taught us this at umpire school. I always thought it was really good, and I genuinely do go through this checklist. When situations pop up, when people are running their mouth or whatever, there's 5 things. There's a 5-step process you want to go through. Ignore, acknowledge, address, warn, eject. Ignore, acknowledge, address, warn, eject. It has served me well over the years. Ignore. Hey, let's go. That ball's down. Got nothing for you, buddy. Not going to acknowledge that. I'm looking straight ahead. You hear me? I said that ball's down. That's terrible. I'm going to look over. Okay? Acknowledge. So acknowledge doesn't mean respond or address. That's the 3rd step. Acknowledge. You look over and they know that you've heard them. Now, if they want to continue at that point, hey, let's go. You need to get better. You've been calling that pitch all day and it's bad. Hey, I'll tell you what, we're not going to do that. Let's go. That ball's there. Come on. And if they want to continue at that point, no, it's not. That ball's not there or whatever. Hey, Bill, that's it. We're done here. That's enough. Okay. In our game, we don't have to give warnings. We don't have to give official warnings. We don't pull out pieces of paper. We don't write it down. We don't say this is your bench warning. It is justified that a hand or that's it or that's enough or no more suffices for a warning. Balls and strikes, an argument on a basis without a personal insult, you do have to warn. So after you've done that, they continue, you eject. So you ignore. You might want to look over for the acknowledgement, which is the next step. Address it with something verbal, okay? And then you want to warn in some capacity. You guys have to do it a little bit differently, and then you eject. So ignore, acknowledge, address, warn, eject. One little keynote there in handling situations, putting your hand up and using the stop sign. If you put your hand up and you say, that's it, no more, stop, that's enough, and they continue, and you do not eject them, you have just lost control of the game, because no one will believe it. No one will respect your warning. And then the next time when the other team does whatever and you warn them and then you do eject them, they're going to lose their mind because you're not being fair. You warned them. You told them to stop. You did not. They continued. You didn't eject. You just did. I did the same thing, and I expected the same treatment, and I didn't get the same treatment. Be careful with the stop sign. I've always been told that. So if I ever use the stop sign, I hold my hand up, or I say, that's it, that is enough, Bill, or whatever. If they continue in any capacity, they need to be ejected. Okay. Otherwise you've lost all respect, and you've lost your crowd there. You've lost your game. Okay.
So Brian, let's just unpack it for a quick second, because in high school, we have a little bit
different. Yep.
Where you have a verbal warning, then a written warning, and in the written warning, they're remanded to the dugout for the remainder of the game, and then you have an ejection. So I suppose, I don't suppose, it would be appropriate if for us and for high school baseball, if your hand is up and you say, that's enough, this is your verbal warning, that works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good conversion over to that. And I would say if you're, so the final step now in high school is the written warning. Is that correct?
Yeah. Unless, there's something personal or profanity or.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Sure.
Gotcha. So I would correlate what I said to, do not give them a written warning and tell them that's it, that's enough. And then 10 seconds later, somebody pops off and you just ignore it and avoid it. Once you've declared, this is my line in the sand, I'm out here doing a job, I'm out here working my ass off. You don't say these things, but I have told you to stop and I've given you your written warning. If you then allow them to continue, you've just lost everything you're trying to do out there. So that's a good point, Jay. Common situations before I get to the last part, which is really quick, just kind of a reminder to be a good partner and things that I feel like contribute to that. Wrote down, I added this since I sent you the outline the other day, Jay. Common situations that you guys might face in your game, because a lot of this stuff that I've talked about, you can relate to what you guys do. Not all of it. You're not going to have guys doing what you saw in those videos. They were kind of more for fun, and the video didn't play that well, so it's kind of hard to see, but hopefully you guys enjoyed that, or seeing what we go through sometimes. When to go for help. So at the high school level, when to go for help. I know it's a little bit different as well, in that we do a really good job pre-gaming, and we work with the same guys all year, so we really get a feel for what we're going to do in certain situations. But we know 100% that with 3 guys in AA, that if either one of the base guys has a foul ball off the foot, they're going to call it immediately. So if it's close and they don't call and the play goes and the guy's out at first, manager comes out, hey, Brian, I'll tell you what, you might have got that right, but I had a guy do this last year. Phil Wellman, the grenade guy, throws the grenade, years back and made it all over ESPN and whatever. He said, you're going to have to go for help on this, or you're going to have to eject me. I go, well, Phil, I might have to eject you then, because we have already pre-gamed this entire season that if either one of these guys has a foul ball off the foot, they're going to kill it right away. I didn't have it, and they clearly didn't have it because they didn't stop the play. He thought about it for a minute, and he walked back to the dugout. So I'm not going to say, I'm not going for help. No, I'm not, and stir it up even more. We have an ejection and whatever else. I'm not going to back down and go, well, just for show, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I know there's a big push at the college level and probably in the high school level to appease people and put fires out and what have you. But I think that is a good opportunity to say, hey, Grady at South, someone that I've known for a lot of years. Hey, let me tell you this. Hey, we have pre-gamed that, and you go through that thing. I don't think he's going to be opposed to you not, well, can you just go check? Well, that's the whole point. We want to save the time and trouble of having to delay the game. That's why we do that. If they had it, they would have called it. They didn't have it. They didn't call it. Okay. Pulled foots. You guys want to do a good pregame. You guys want to know when to go for help. You want to have some type of signal or whatever, where your hat comes off or whatever else, so they know, Yeah, might have missed that. I should probably go get help. I would err on the side of going to get help on pulled foots. Weird situations, go get help. Boundary calls, go get help. But know when to go for help. Talk about it with your partner. Learn that, over the years, a lot of you have done this for a long time, and you have a pretty good feel for when you should get help and when you can't. But let me tell you this. If you're getting help, if you guys are getting together 4, 5, 6, 7, even 3, I mean, like more than once a game, every single time you're like using one of your aces in the hole, your trump card. It doesn't matter if you're changing it to getting a right, leaving it alone, and that was right. Once you're doing that for the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th time, nobody believes you anyway anymore. So you want to try to avoid that as much as possible. How are you going to deal with a dugout that is getting on you about pitches? We kind of talked about that in the ignore, acknowledge, address, warn, eject. Are you going to be the guy who dumps gasoline all over that fire by losing it on the dugout and screaming at them right off the bat? Have I ever screamed at a dugout? Yes, I have. Do I feel like when I've chosen to do that, it was at an appropriate time and it was to try to keep control of a game after I've already ignored, after I've already acknowledged? And now instead of addressing it by making a comment, it was going nuts on a dugout in a really rare situation. I've done it a couple times in 5 years. It's not advised, and I don't think it's going to work out very, very well for you at the high school level. But in those dugout situations, you want to use ignore, acknowledge, address, warn, eject. How will you handle a coach that wants to talk about a play? When he comes up to you and, are you going to listen? Are you going to be defensive? Are you going to tell him, no, I know I got that right, 100%. I'm 100% sure I got it right. Or are you going to engage him and let him talk, let him tell you everything that he has to say, and then play a little bit of verbal judo and say, well, that's good. I appreciate you letting me know how you saw it. I had his hand come off the bag and I called him out. There's no one who's going to have a better look. So that's what we're going to go with. They don't want to have Mr. Unapproachable out there shutting them down before they can give it out. They're putting a hand up. Don't come out here, and they also don't want to be able to walk all over you or they're not going to respect you. So, learn the way that you want to go about that, talk to other people, gain mentorship, and, go to the clinics and the trainings that they do and ask questions about that. And I think you guys will get better at that over the years. Just common sense things and situations in high school, how you're going to deal with situations. The catcher's shaken up, okay, walk out to the pitcher and give him a little bit of time. How are you going to handle when the batter continues to step out of the box? I've seen so many guys angrily and aggressively, hey, take off the mask, pointing to the box and making a massive deal about it where now everybody can seize it. And now we have a huge problem here or whatever. Hey, Johnny, hey, get back in here, buddy. Hey, Johnny, just point down. I've always been told, just try to do it without anybody know that you're doing that. Get back in the box so that we don't have a problem there. Rivalry games, teams have bad blood, really, really get good at diffusing situations. You guys aren't going to have throwing situations, except once every 10 years. The high school level in the South Bay might have some, where you're pretty sure they threw at them and you run them for it, but it's a different ball game. You guys aren't going to deal with what I deal with on that level, hardly ever. So I've known guys who've worked pro ball for 10 years and they've never had one. So a throwing situation, ejection for that. So who knows when it's going to come, but hey, this is Redondo Maricosta. The game the other day, there was a hard slide at the plate. The guy got barreled over and the teams were going crazy or whatever. Hopefully if that happens, be a good, South Bay unit guy or gal where you reach out to the president or you put it in the report or you reach out to the next crew, you look an arbiter and be like, hey, this is so-and-so. We had a shit show the other day. Guy slid in hard at home. The helmets came off, and whatever. So you're not going to just magically know about that. We get heads up reports in pro ball, but be prepared. Don't show up 22 minutes before the game. Be there an hour before. Some fan will probably tell you about it walking in the game. Be careful. These guys are going to go crazy today or whatever. So be ready for that, high intensity game or whatever in terms of diffusing situations. Know the fields, know the unique ground rules we have at different places. Be prepared for the white fence down the line that, it could bounce and go over. It could go over on the fly, and you need to be, prepared for that. So we only go to the same 8 places or whatever. You guys might work at 30 different 30 different high school fields in a year or every couple years, and you need to know the layout, because if the first time you're thinking about whether it's possible for a ball to stick in the tarp or whatever is when it happens, you're probably not going to get, that call right. and then we've gone for an hour and 20. So I'll try to wrap up here. Being a good partner. In this business, that I'm proud to say that I've worked at literally every single level along the high school route, and then in the college ranks, and now so many of the levels in the professional game. I've seen so many situations, so many guys. I've talked to guys about, heard feedback about other umpires, and seen guys who succeed and seen guys who failed, and it would not be who you thought it would be. But there's one component that makes up guys who succeed in this, guys who get to the Division I level, guys who rise the ranks at different places. They're good people that treat their colleagues well. They treat them well. They respect them. They pull for them. And that's kind of some of the things I have in here. Good guys, partners succeed and thrive and rise to the top. Bad ones seem to always weed themselves out. It's amazing how that happens. There's some that slip through the cracks. I've worked some, college games with guys. I'm like, my God, it's time for him to go, or how did he get up here, to this point? Because he doesn't treat everyone very well in the locker room. It's few and far between. And at some point, they'll probably end up weeding themselves out. So a little story I have about that. In Frisco, that same year as the throwing situation, we had a supervisor there. You want to perform really well for the supervisors. First inning, first batter. Nope, second batter, because there was a runner on first. So it's pretty common that guys will want to go out on everything. High line drive, I want to go out. Well, there was a shot in the gap, and I'm working first base in a 3-man system. And I look up and I'm like, I'm going to make the hero read here. This ball's down. It's not a ground rule double, I don't think, and it's not going to go out. I'm going to keep this rotation alive, and I'm going to get to home plate. I'm going to make that call at home plate. So I look up. I never moved towards going out. I knew the supervisor's there. We just saw him. We happened to see him. I start heading home. I get about halfway home. I look up, and the ball hit the fence. So if the ball hits the fence, you definitely wanted to have gone out on that. I look up, and the plate umpire never moved from home plate because he assumed he made a better read than me, technically. And he said to himself, that ball's hit really well, and I'm staying home because Brian's going to go out on it. I didn't go out. I'm 30 feet from home plate. We got no umpire at first. We got 2 umpires very close to home plate, and we're clogged up. It's a broken down rotation. It was embarrassing. And so I kind of move up the line, stay out of his way. Didn't end up being a play at home plate. And I'm like, well, this is great. First day of a 3-game set with that. That supervisor really liked me, so that probably helped me mentally that, things were going to be okay. But we get to the locker room after the game. He kind of walks in. He's like, man, good thing you got some clout. You got some street cred here, Walshy. Good thing it's the end of the year, because if that was the first time I ever saw you do anything, that would not have been good. But I've already seen you 3 times this year, and I've had good reports this season. And what do you got? Hey, guys, sit down. Talk to me about that, because that was obviously a big train wreck. He goes, Brian, what do you got? I go, I made a terrible read. I wanted to keep the rotation alive. It was a bad read. I should have gone out. I should have been a little more patient and given myself a chance to take a second or third look at it for another second and make that good decision. But I screwed that up. I should have gone out. And he goes, okay. And then he said to the plate umpire, what'd you have on that play? He goes, well, I looked up and I saw Brian starting to go out. So when I saw him, and I didn't start to go out, and he had it all on video, which the guy didn't know. He goes, saw him going out. He took a few steps. So I figured I'm good to go. I'm gonna stay home or whatever. And so he lost it. He lost it on him. And so he goes, is this what you saw? And he showed the video and what have you. And it just got him in big trouble. And that guy ended up having to quit because things really didn't go well for him. Instead of just saying, hey, I anticipated that this was going to happen. I thought that he went out, so I stayed home. And I thought he was going to go out, and I stayed home. I made a mistake as well, and I jacked this up. He lied, and he said that he saw me take several steps to go out, so that's why he stayed home. Otherwise, if I was, gonna rotate, he would have continued the rotation up to third. And things never went well for that guy afterwards. And I tried to pick him up. I tried to, apologize and whatever else, even though he literally tried to railroad me. He literally buried me in front of the supervisor, blaming, what he did on him. And there was another hour conversation there, all directed at the other guy. And if you just tell the truth, if you're just a good partner, if you just all he had to do there was try to pick me up. And I think pick his partner up. And I think the supervisor would have really appreciated it, but it's not how it went down. So I felt bad that happened, but I can't choose how to deal with, what he was going to say on that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quick things about being a good partner. Don't big league guys. You might have worked 5 finals and you're working with a guy who switched units or a young guy or whatever. I mean, my advice would be don't big league guys. I don't go work JC games because I did the futures game. So I could go work a JC game and I'll shit all over this guy and I won't even talk to him in the locker room or whatever. Just be good folks. Don't big league guys. Hardly any of you guys would do that, but this is more generic. It's more, what have you. Don't show guys up on or off the field. Some guy, and this goes with the gossip thing and the next one, but some guy misses 3 plays on the bases for you, or some guy misses 25 pitches and you don't even know who he is, some new guy in the unit. You jump on the horn, man, who the hell is this guy? This guy's a mess. This guy was all over the place today. What a miserable partner to work with or whatever. This business has a funny way of that word gets back to guys, and part 3 is don't speak negatively or gossip about people. Hey man, keep that to yourself. And if you're the board or if you're making decisions for postseason, you happen to see that and you make a decision, the guy or gal doesn't deserve to be there later on, that's one thing, but there's no benefit in spreading negativity about people. I've seen that so much at the college level and in the professional level. I don't think it happens as much at the high school level, but there's no need for it. This is a big one. Don't give unsolicited feedback. When you get off the field, hey, Jim, I'll tell you what, man, your plate stance is brutal. And you're getting that low pitch all day. I'll tell you what, those almost bounced 10 times. Don't know what you're doing there, but you really got to clean that up. And you need to get quicker on your rotations. Do you ever run or anything? Like if somebody says, hey, I'm trying to really pick my game up here and went to these clinics and it's my 3rd year. And what do you got for me? Give it to them in a really professional and a really polite and sound way. Don't hold back. Don't tell them their zone was great when they're all over the place. But yeah, I thought you did a good job at the top and bottom, but man, you were wide on those edges. Probably reel it back in a little bit, man. And find something positive to tell them when you're giving this feedback. You can make or break people's desire to want to do this with your feedback, both negative or positive. So I had a guy one time, I had finished AA or something, and I go in to work a JC game and, work the bases or whatever. And some guy's like, hey, your pivot step over at first, man. Why do you do that? And that's really, do they even teach that or something? And I'm, what? So don't give the unsolicited feedback. With that being said, ask people if I would encourage you guys to ask others, maybe they have something for you that you never really thought of that way or whatever that can help you. Don't be too prideful to ask for feedback. And this 5 is, I already said it, be positive and encouraging. And the last one, maybe the most important thing is root for your peers, man. Root for your peers to succeed. Don't be jealous. Me and Ben Phillips, a lot of you guys know him. We were finishing junior college and we were going to go to Arizona League in 2015. Ben got picked for a JC regional. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get this. They're going to send me one of those too. Never got it. Don't know why. I didn't get picked. I didn't jump on the horn with guys. This is bullshit. Why did Ben Phillips get picked? I was happy for him, man. I went and watched him over at Long Beach City. I probably felt like I should have got one of those shots that last year doing where I could have gotten a playoff series, but root for people. Root for that. So you didn't get on the finals list. Root for that person that did. Your time will come or maybe it won't, but being negative and being, sour doesn't help anybody. I'm so happy for all these guys. There's like 20 guys now that have gotten to fill in with all the umpires who opted out in the big leagues this year. And there's some people on there that I'm like, oh, that's surprising, but that's awesome. I'm pulling for those guys. Like those guys are big league umpires now. They got big league dirt on their shoes. I'm rooting for those guys. I was very, very, very fortunate to work the futures game last year. And you would hear from guys like, oh man, this guy's really bitter about that. He thinks he should have got picked. It's like, what do you want me to do about that? I'm pulling for those guys to get a shot. I'm doing everything I can on and off the field. And if you get chosen for something that, that is exciting like that, that's great. But pull for your colleagues, pull for your peers, do everything you can, leave it all on the field, be a good person, be a good crewmate, and then whatever happens, happens. Yeah.
Thanks, Brian. That's great. So we have only 1 minute. So I wanted, was there any sort of last question for Brian? I had one that I was going to ask around it, sort of a memorable experience or a shit show that he may have already shared already, but I wanted to give you guys any sort of last question here in the last minute. So Brian, is there a memorable moment, a shit show or something you can give us quickly, or?
Sure. There's two that tie together. So in the Midwest League, up to that point, there'd been some ejections or things, but I had never had a real shit show, cover the plate in dirt and all this. So this catcher called strike 3, and he fired his bat to the dugout, and I ran him. It was the same situation as this, where it was my first 2 ejections of the year, first ejection of the year in like game 80. Manager comes down going crazy or whatever and tells me I suck, so I run him. He goes on to tell me that I'm never going to make it out of the Midwest League, that I'm brutal, that every team, every manager, everybody hates you. You should have been aborted, and all this crazy, hearing these crazy things. I'm like a, young, impressionable child. I've never experienced this. This guy covers the plate in dirt, leaves his cap on the dirt, fires things into the dugout, literally tells me you're going to be fired. I'm going to call the league president. You're going to be done. You'll never umpire another week in this league or whatever. That was my first shit show. The place is going crazy. Right after that, I had to eject someone from the dugout for jumping out of the dugout and like yelling at me or whatever. So three all in like a minute. And then when I was fortunate enough to go to the Futures game, which was beyond anything you could ever imagine, where you're wearing a suit and tie and they're picking you up in an armored car or a car with a guy with a gun and escorting you everywhere, and they're putting you right across the street in Cleveland at downtown, and you're working in front of 30,000 people. I had ESPN mic'd me for the celebrity softball game, and getting line drives hit by my head and calling fair and foul for the home run derby, and my family came out. It was like everything you could ever dream of. But we had a meeting for the home run derby, and the same guy who told me, you'll never make it out of the Midwest League, you're the worst umpire in the league, you should have been aborted, all this, he's throwing BP to one of the guys in the last year's home run derby. He comes up, he's like, good looking crew we got here. Looking good, guys. Congrats, man. You guys look awesome. You guys are going to go to the big leagues. I'm John, says his name or whatever and reaches out to me. Nice to meet you. I'm so-and-so. And I'm, hey, man, nice to meet you. It's like, well, it was kind of a full circle. This guy's going nuts. It was my first experience really catching all the flack, and the plate's full of dirt, and he's kicked everything everywhere and says, things aren't going to work out. And then a few years later, you catch a blessing, and you're, I really wanted to give him a piece of my mind there. Oh, I know who you are, but there's better, you pick and choose your battles, and that wouldn't have been a good battle to choose. So, yeah.
Well, I guess there's a few takeaways from that, right? I guess coaches move on. I guess we should as well. And the other is, don't listen to the naysayers, right?
Yep.
We're so happy for you, Brian, man. You're doing so well. We want to see you out in the field. And thanks for joining us. And I appreciate how much time you put on. I don't know if you could tell, but Brian, I put a lot of time and a lot of notes, sent me an outline, the videos. You took it real seriously, and we're grateful for it, and wish you all the best. And we'll be in touch, and with the rest of the crew, we'll let you know what we have on tap for next month, and we'll let you guys go. Have a great night, and thanks again, Brian. Appreciate you.
Thanks,
very
guys.
much.
Love you guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Great.